Well, hello, my name is Steve and welcome to our online family service. Even though at the moment we can't meet together in person, it's great we can join together like this and worship God. And in fact, it isn't going to be long until we can join together in person and meet back in our buildings on Sunday mornings. In fact, in just 2 weeks' time, on Palm Sunday, is our first in-person service. So we'll look forward to seeing you then when we start back up again. Until then, we're going to carry on looking at stories of Jesus in Luke's Gospel. And you may remember last week, we looked at 2 stories Jesus told. One was about a lost sheep, and one was about a lost coin. Stories that remind us how every single person is precious to Jesus, how every one of us is precious to him. And this week we're going to look at another story Jesus told. It's a story that reminds us not to big ourselves up, not to think we're better than we are, not to look down on other people. So we're going to look at that story later today. And also, as it's Mother's Day, we're going to take a moment to say thank you to the woman who helped bring us up. That could be mums, grannies, aunts, whoever it is. We're going to say thank you through our craft and take time in prayer to say thank you to God for those people. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with our welcome and ask each other about our week. We're going to have a game. Our story is this story reminding us not to big ourselves up and look down on others. Then it's our craft. We're going to be making something that we can give to those women who helped bring us up. Then our action song. And finally, we're going to close in prayer, a chance to say thank you to God for lots of things, but especially to those women who helped bring us up. And we're going to start this week, as we usually do, with a welcome and asking each other about our weeks. What's been something good about our week? What's something you're thankful for? And even when our week's been a bit rubbish, even when it's difficult, it's good to step back and think, there was something good. Is there something that we can say thank you to God for? Now, normally at this point, I'd get someone in here to help me, but I'm afraid he's not joining us this week, which I know is bad news because for many of you, that's your favourite bit of the service. But you see, we've all been a bit ill this week, Theo, me and Ruth. So I thought he's not feeling too good. We'll not get him on camera because he wouldn't enjoy it then. But even the week when we've all been feeling snotty and run down and really ill, there's still something we can be thankful for. I know one thing we're really thankful for is the medicines we have that make us feel better. Things like Calpol and Lemsips have been very helpful this week. And we're also thankful that when you're feeling a bit rubbish, there's nothing like curling up on the sofa together, giving each other a big cuddle while you just watch TV or do whatever. We're really thankful for that, even when you're feeling really ill. So what I'm going to do then is just jump in to getting you to ask each other what's something good about your week, what's something you're thankful for. Hopefully there's something you can find there. Why don't you pause the video and then press play when you're ready to carry on? Why don't you pause it now? And hopefully there was plenty of things you can share about your week. What's been good, what's something you're thankful for. Now in today's story we're going to be using a balloon and thinking about blowing a balloon up and letting the air out of the balloon too. So for our game, I thought we could use a challenge that involves blowing up a balloon and letting it go. It's called the Balloon Rocket Challenge. And if you want to try it at home, here's what you'll need. You'll need a balloon, obviously. You'll need a long piece of string and a straw. And then just to put it all together, you'll need a pen, some scissors, and some tape. Let me tell you what you're going to do. First of all, we're going to cut our straw in half. We don't need all of it, so just cut it roughly in half. As ever with my crafts, you don't need to be too exact with that. You just need a short bit because we're going to attach that to the balloon. And then you're going to get an end of the piece of your string and you're going to put it through the straw like this. Now here's a little tip. If you put it down, then it can help the wool or string fall through the straw. And you wanted to get it to come out the other end. And we're almost there. Just get the last bit and hopefully, if you can see it, you can start to bring it out the other end. And then what you want to do is run that along a bit of the string. Now it's important now that you keep the straw inside the string because this is the bit that your balloon is going to travel along. And then what we need to do is to tape the straw to our balloon. Now it's probably best to do it when it's not blown up too far. So we'll start with it blown up a little bit. And you might want to get somebody else to help you because this bit can be quite hard. Because what you want to do is try and tape the balloon to the straw. Now, what I'm going to do is see if I can do this with one hand. I'm going to put the straw up like this. And while it's still up, I'm going to put a bit of sellotape across like that there. I'm going to put 2 bits of tape, just like this here. Okay, so that way we've got our balloon attached to it, and we can let it go as well. And when it's let go, you still want it to be attached. Now, if you're feeling super creative, you can blow the balloon up a bit and draw a rocket on the side. Just like this here. So if I blow it up, and I'm going to draw a rocket on the side, so we have a rocket like this here, and like this here, and then at the end you want lots of flames coming out the back. Now, I'm sure you can draw a better rocket than that. If you get somebody to hold the balloon, you get a lot more time to do it. Now, we need to try it out. What you need to go to find is a place across one end of the room to tie this end of the string, and as far away as possible, try the other end of the string, and then simply let it go and see how far the rocket travels along the string. Should we give that a go now? Okay, here I am with my balloon rocket ready for its first ever flight. I've connected a bit of string from here to the other end of the living room. Let's see if it can go all the way along it. Shall we do a countdown? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Oh, only halfway. I'm sure you can do better than that. So that's how to make a balloon rocket. And why don't you try it out at home and see how far you can get your balloon to travel? Now today we're going to look at another story that Jesus told. And the story has 2 different people in it. And the people are a bit similar to the groups of people we heard about last week. But let me tell you about these 2 people. One person in the story was a Pharisee. Now in those days a Pharisee was a religious leader. So normally in a story about a Pharisee, you'd expect them to be the good person, the goodie. See, they were a good person, a holy person, so you probably want to be like them. And the other person in the story was a tax collector. Now, tax collectors in those days weren't very liked. You see, they worked for the Romans. The Romans were the enemy. They'd invaded the country. And also tax collectors, well, some of them used to steal from people, help themselves to their money. So tax collectors weren't liked. So normally in a story, a tax collector would be the baddie. So you see, you'd have the Pharisee, he'll probably be the good person, and a tax collector, they'd probably be a bad person. Well, except you see, in the stories that Jesus told, they usually came with a twist. Things didn't turn out like you'd expect. So we're going to hear the story read to us now by Alexandra from Luke chapter 18. But listen out, which person actually pleased God more, the Pharisee or the tax collector? Which person turned out to be the best person in the story? Was it the Pharisee? Couldn't be the tax collector, could it? Well, let's hear the story read to us now by Alexandra. Over to you.
Hi everyone. Today's reading is from Luke's Gospel, chapter 18. Jesus told a story to some people who thought they were better than others and who looked down on everyone else. 2 men went into the temple to pray. One was a Pharisee and the other was a tax collector. The Pharisee stood over by himself and prayed, "God, I thank you that I am not greedy, dishonest, and unfaithful in marriage like other people, and I'm really glad that I'm not like that tax collector over there. I go without eating for 2 days a week, and I give you 1/10 of all that I earn." The tax collector stood off at a distance and did not think he was good enough even to look towards heaven. He was so sorry for what he had done that he pounded his chest and prayed, "God, have pity on me, I'm such a sinner." Then Jesus said, when the 2 men went home, it was the tax collector and not the Pharisee who was pleasing to God. If you put yourself above others, you will be put down. But if you humble yourself, you will be honoured.
Thank you, Alexandra. So Jesus told this story about 2 people who went to the temple to pray. It's a bit like us going to church to pray. And one of the people in the story was a Pharisee. Here I've got my Pharisee here. And as I said earlier, you might expect them to be the goodie in the story. And the other person was a tax collector. Here I've got the tax collector here. And you might expect them to be the baddie in the story. But let's see how this turns out. Now Jesus said that when the Pharisee prayed to God, he wanted to blow himself up, to make himself look good. So he wanted to make himself look better than other people. So when he prayed, it was all about blowing himself up, making himself look good. When he prayed to God, he said, God, I thank you that I'm not greedy. I don't tell lies. I'm a good husband. I don't do all those bad things. I do lots of good things. I fast 2 days a week. I give a lot of my money to the temple. I do so many good things. I'm glad I'm not like that tax collector over there. Hey, what do you think of the Pharisee's prayer? Is it a good prayer? I mean, it sounds like he's more interested in showing off, making himself look important, blowing himself up. And then the tax collector prayed. He didn't blow himself up like the Pharisee. He didn't think he was even good enough to look up to heaven, so he bowed his head. And he said he was sorry for what he'd done. He prayed, God, have pity on me, a sinner. I'm sorry I've turned away from you. So what do you think of the tax collector's prayer? Well, he was humble before God. He was honest before God. He wasn't trying to show off. And Jesus said it was the tax collector, not the Pharisee, that pleased God. The tax collector wasn't trying to big himself up, make himself better than others. So he was the one that pleased God. And Jesus said, well, if you put yourself on others, if you look down on others and try and blow yourself up, you will be let down. But if you humble yourself, if you're honest before God, you will be honoured. And that's important for us to remember too. Let's say that this balloon is us. Sometimes we want to blow ourselves up, don't we? We want to make ourselves look good. We want people to say, aren't they great? What a good person they are. To make us feel bigger. And sometimes we can start to think, yeah, you know what? I am quite good. I am better than others. In fact, I am better than everyone else. Whenever we start to think like that and start to look down on others, we can be full of pride. But Jesus says, no, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be about blowing ourselves up, making ourselves big, looking down on others. Jesus said, no, instead, we should be humble, like this here. That's when we don't try and make ourselves more important than everyone else. That's when we listen to others and try and learn from others and hear what they have to say. That's when we look out for and care for others. And that's also when we're open and honest with God. And that's when we know we might need to say sorry to God and sorry to other people as well. So don't be like the Pharisee in today's story, blowing yourself up, bigging yourself up, trying to make yourself more important than others and look down on others. No, Jesus says, be like the tax collector in today's story. Be humble, be honest, look out for others, and if you need to, say sorry. That's what pleases Jesus, and that's what pleases God. Be like the tax collector. Now, as today is Mother's Day, I thought for our craft today, we can make a Mother's Day card. A card we could use to say thank you to one of the women that helped bring us up. That could be your mum, your granny, your aunt, whoever it is. We can give them a card to say thank you. And if you'd like to make a Mother's Day card, here's what you'll need. We'll need 2 sheets of white paper. We'll need some white tack or some blue tack. We'll need a pen to write on the card and some scissors. And then to decorate the card, you can either use paint, or I'm using the less messy option here, some fingerprint ink. We'll use that to decorate the card. So if you can get something like that together, I'm going to show you how to make your Mother's Day card now. So first of all, we're going to start with 1 sheet of white paper like this here. We're going to fold it in half. Fold it in half this way here along the short edge. And then we're going to cut off, because we only need 1/2 of this paper. So cut along the crease you just made. And you're only going to keep 1/2 of this, but keep the other half in case you make a mistake. And what you're going to do is to fold this in half again, like this here. And we're going to use this to make a heart shape. So you're going to try and draw a heart shape on this. You might want to use a pencil just in case you make a mistake, but I'm going to be bold so you can see it. And I'm going to draw half a heart on here, maybe get somebody to help you. And we're going to cut that out, and when we open it up, hopefully you'll see that it looks like a heart. It's always good when we want to say thank you or someone you love them. Heart's always a good way to show that. And you'll see when we open this out that we have a heart shape. Okay, so that's what we need for part 1 of our card. Let me put that down there. And this is where the other sheet of paper comes in. And again, we're going to start the same way. We're going to fold this in half and then crease it along here. But this time we're not going to cut it in half because this is going to be our card. This is going to be the front of our card and this is going to be inside. So what you want to do is to take some white tack and stick your heart to the front of the card. So let me get my white tack out here. And what you want to do is to stick the white tack on the back of your heart. So put lots of white tack around here. I go right to the edges because you want it to stay fairly in place. So you want to put lots of different bits in here, maybe even 6, 7, 8 bits on each side. And then we're going to stick the heart on the front of our card. Let me just put a few more bits down here because I want to make sure it sticks really well and doesn't move during the next bit. So if I put all of that there, then when you've got it covered in white tack, place it here and place it slightly up towards the top and somewhere in the middle on your card, and then push down really well to make sure it's really well stuck onto the card like that. Okay, so we should have our card with a heart stuck on the front, which doesn't look very exciting in a minute, but this is where our inks come in. We're going to have the pink ink I've gone for here and the red ink, but you can use whatever colour you want. And what we're going to do is to take our thumb, stick it in the ink, and then stick it around the card here, particularly some overlapping the heart. Let me show you what I mean. Now, I would say before you start, it's always better to start with the lighter colour and move to the darker one. That way it saves you getting all mixed up the colour. So take a little bit in your finger and then put a couple of splodges around the heart like that there. And in fact, if you keep doing that and then put them elsewhere as well, all over the place, because you want to cover and make it look like you've got lots of places. Now, you just don't have to use one finger. You can use loads of fingers if you want to go a bit quicker too. And in fact, what I'll do, I'll speed this bit up until we change colour and I'll show you what it looks like then. Okay, let's speed this bit up now. Okay, now I've finished the pink one, I'm going to try it with the red one because I think it's nicer if you've got more than one colour on it. So I'm going to use the same finger again, get it nice and covered in the ink, and same thing again, all the way around again. Make sure you have a few overlapping with the heart itself. The more you have overlapping, I think the better it will look at the end. You'll see what I mean. And let me speed it up again. Okay, so you should have something that looks a bit like this here. Now, before the next bit, I recommend washing your finger here so it doesn't get covered in the rest of the card, which is nice, white and clean, doesn't get covered. So let me wash my finger and come back. So when you've got nice clean fingers again, you're ready for the next stage. What we're going to do is to peel off the heart here, and hopefully when you do that, you'll see, and we'll take all the bits of white tack off as well, we'll see a nice heart design emerge in the middle of our fingerprints. I'll take all the bits of white tack off and you can see it there. There we have our own personal, made with our own hands, literally Mother's Day card. Now there's one other thing we need to do to make it a Mother's Day card, and that's a way to write Happy Mother's Day down the bottom. Now I'm not very good at writing upside down, so let me turn it the right way up. And there we go. There you have your Mother's Day card. And you now have a blank bit inside to say what you want or send a message to the person you want to write your card to. But that's how to make a Mother's Day card. So now you can take your card and give it to say thank you to somebody important in your life. Maybe a woman who's helped bring you up. That could be your mum, your granny, your aunt, your cousin, whoever it is. It's a great way to say thank you to them. And now it's time for our action song, a chance to praise God with our voices and with our bodies too. And today's is a classic. It's Our God is a Great Big God. I'm sure many of you know this song. And it's a great song for today, because in today's story we're talking about we shouldn't be saying how great we are and trying to big ourselves up. But instead, We should be saying how great God is and talking about how big God is. And that's what this song does. Let me hand over now to Ruth and Sarah, who are going to lead us.
Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He is higher than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me, and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's higher than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me, and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands.
Thank you, Ruth and Sarah. And I thought in our prayers today it'd be good to say thank you. To say thank you to God for our mums and the other important women in our lives, and to say thank you for the many other things that God has given us. So we're going to use an idea from the Prayer Experiment Notebook. We used it last week. You see, I told you it was a good book, didn't I? And this idea we're going to use is a prayer thank you jar. Now, it's really simple. If you want to make one, you'll need a jar. It can have a lid like this here as well, and lots of pieces of coloured paper like this here. Or it could just be white paper as well, but coloured makes it a bit more exciting. And what the idea is, that any time you want to say thank you for something, you write that thing on here, fold it up and put it in the jar. So it could be your mum, it could be another important woman in your life, like your granny, your aunt, your cousin. You fold that up and you want to say thank you to God for them, and you put them in here. And there could be other things you want to say thank you to God too. Maybe if God has answered prayer, you write it down, fold it up and put it in there. Or maybe saying thank you to God for something about who God is or what God is like. And I'm going to say thank you for God being love, for God loving us. And we'll put that in there. Whatever it is you come up with, just put it in the jar. And then when you're ready to pray, you're just going to pull some things out of the jar and say thank you to God for them. It's a way to remember to say thank you as we go, and then take time to say thank you to God for what He's done for us, times He's answered prayer, and who He is. And in fact, why don't we do that now? Let me say a prayer of thanks to God. And if you agree with the prayer, say Amen at the end. Let me pray. Lord God, we thank you that you love us and care for us. We thank you for sending Jesus to save us. And we thank you for the women who've helped bring us up, for mothers, for grandmothers, for aunts, for friends and others. We thank you for their love for us and all they've done for us. And Jesus, we thank you for vaccines, and we thank you for vicars, and we thank you for vanilla ice cream. We thank you for all these good things and good people you've given us. Amen. And why don't you try after the service, maybe making your own thank you jar, a way to remember to take time to say thank you to God for all the good people and the good things He's done for us. And let me close our time together by praying this prayer of blessing for us all. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make His face shine on us and be gracious to us. The Lord turn His face towards us and grant us peace. Amen. And thank you for joining with me today as we looked at another story Jesus told about the Pharisee and the tax collector. And Jesus said we shouldn't be blowing ourselves up, making ourselves seem more important than we really are, and looking down on others. No, Jesus said, don't be like that. Instead, what you should be is humble and honest. And if you need to, say sorry. Because Jesus said that's what pleases God. Well, I hope you can join me next week for what may be our last online service ever. And we'll be looking at another story of Jesus in Luke's Gospel. Until then, I hope you stay safe and well, and goodbye.